Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel Prufrock's Life and Library, and this video is going to be a book haul, quite a big one that has been pending for quite a while now. So without any further ado, let's get into the video. So the first book that I'm going to talk about is What is Art by Leo Tolstoy. Now, I had no idea that this non-fiction by Tolstoy existed. Otherwise, I perhaps would have purchased this long back. Now, this is by Penguin, and I got this from Book Fair, from the Penguin's stall. And this book was published in 1898, and as I've read about this book, it says that this book was published in English because in Russian, Tolstoy had to face censorship. That is why it was published in English, and this book is a collection of n number of philosophers and their opinions on beauty, aesthetics, and truth. There's a beautiful line that I would like to quote, and it says, "Every work of art is a repetition of this universal accord. The highest art is the art of life." And in the same page, Tolstoy, while he is describing the works of Schelling, he writes, "The highest stage of art is the art of life, which directs its activity to the adornment of life, so as to make it a beautiful place for the beautiful man to live." And the most interesting part is that if you're reading this book, you are reading 100 other philosophers and artists' take on what they felt about beauty, what they felt about art. And this is not the book that only defines what art and aesthetic is or beauty is, but it also talks about consumerism in art, how art has been consumed, how mediocrity has consumed art, or things like if something cannot be appreciated as art, if that is art at all. So there are a lot of questions and lot of answers. There are a lot of questions and the answers are from a lot of perspectives, which makes this an interesting read. The second book that I've purchased is The Sea. It's from Vintage and it's written by Iris Murdoch. Now, Iris Murdoch was a British-Irish philosopher and novelist, and this is going to be the first fiction that I'm reading of Murdoch, because I have only read her Existentialist and Mystic, which is a non-fiction on aesthetics and ethics of philosophy, and this is the first novel. This is the first novel that I am reading of Murdoch, and this is her, I think probably it's her 19th novel, and this novel is also has interested me because it won the Booker Prize. Now, I do not have much clear idea on what it is, but as much as I have understood from the blurb and I've read about the book online, it says that the book is about theatre. A theatre director who is very satisfied with the work he has done and with his life, and now he is looking forward to living a very peaceful life. But there are certain factors that drives his life in an unexpected way. And it says that there are some undertones that Murdoch follows, like the factors that drive life, such as jealousy or many other emotions, and those are the factors that will drive this character, the protagonist's life as well. So this is The Sea. The third book that I got is Machiavelli's The Prince. Now, being a student of literature, I was always aware of this book, and I have always heard people and philosophers and authors have been referring to this text, but I never had a copy and I have never read it on my own. So this is from Rupa, and I decided to buy this copy because I wanted to have a copy of the Prince. Now, the Prince, this book was originally written and completed in 1513 by Machiavelli, who was a diplomat and a political person. but this book did not get published until 1532, which was after his death. Now this book has been controversial in his time because of the fact that it justifies in this book Machiavelli has written about how a prince should act or should behave. Now while doing so, Machiavelli has also justified and defended some evil acts, saying that a prince should have to do this, or they are likely to do this in these controversial situations, which has made this book a controversy. And as we know, in the present time, Machiavelli is referred to as anything evil. Any character who is influential in a negative way or in a evil way is referred to as being Machiavellian in nature. The fourth and the last text that I have purchased from Book Fair is Mary Wollstonecraft's The Vindication of the Rights of Women. Now, women's literature, although it should not have been called so in the first place, because literature is, we don't say men's literature, so why women's literature? But anyway, I understand the importance of representation and the oppression that has to be brought out in the open with a loud way of expression. So anyway, now I also had women's studies in my master's, and this was the text that was being studied at university then, but I never got the chance to read it very carefully. Now which is why this is another reason of purchasing this. And also I wanted to own a copy of The Vindication of the Rights of Women, and also published by Penguin. So this book was written in 1792, and the amount of love it received was equal to the amount of outrage it received. Now, I've also always known this book before I was aware of her writings. I've known this book because Horace Walpole, who is the writer of Castle of Otranto, had commented about her saying a hyena in petticoats. So that was the kind of commentary she was receiving at a time, being a female writer, when writer was a synonym to male perhaps. And so this is one of the very few early feminist texts, and it locates women's rights, the rights that women did not have, and some are basic human rights which and women was not considered to be one of them having those rights. Wollstonecraft has actually shown the position, the political and the social position of women in her contemporary times, and this has been one of the very few initiators of the feminist movements. So I would make a detailed video on this, solely on this book, or perhaps with some other feminist texts. The next book that I have purchased is Man and His Symbols by Carl Jung. Now, psychology is another subject, another discipline that has always mesmerized me, and the initial reading of psychology it is generally always full of Sigmund Freud. But then I came to know about Carl Jung, and there's this movie, The Dangerous Method, which got me more interested in Jung's work, because that movie shows the parallel, the comparison and the contradiction between Sigmund Freud and Jung. So that is how I got interested in knowing more of Jung's work. And his works generally includes theories like the archetypes or the collective unconscious. And you can also refer to my previous video where I talk about these few books that I have purchased from College Street. So this is the first one, and the next one is In Search of Schrodinger's Cat by John Gribbin. Now, Schrodinger's thought experiment has always made me very curious, and this book is both scientific, it talks about methods in science, and also is theoretical, and it says that In Search of Schrodinger's Cat tells the complete story of quantum mechanics, a truth which is stranger than any fiction. So, being very curious on this thought experiment regarding the cat, and just in general quantum mechanics itself, this compelled me to buy this book. I had seen this book previously online, but I purchased it recently. This is the second one. And so the third purchase is, and this is also the one I have shown you in my previous video, it is called The Principles of Philosophy. This is a second-hand book, and you can see there are a lot of annotated lines. And anyway, I love reading a second-hand book because it provides you with a perspective that is uncalled for. You are served with the perceptions and opinion of the reader who has read this book just before you, or maybe a long time before you. So anyway, the original publication of this book, the copy I have is the second edition, and it is published in 1948. The first edition was in 1944, and it is written by Hari Mohan Bhattacharya, who was a lecturer of philosophy in Calcutta University. And the most interesting thing about this book is that he has talked about continental philosophy and Western philosophy, but with Indian parallels, because generally what happens when in philosophy courses we are more inclined, be it anywhere around the world, we are more inclined to be reading Western and continental philosophy, but every instance that is mentioned in this book that is regarding metaphysics or duality or reality and judgment and several other things like evolution, morality in materialism, what this book has unique is that Indian parallel philosophy is described with it. For example, as I see that there's a chapter on duality, and it talks about Advaita Vedantism and also the philosophies of Adi Shankaracharya, and who has initiated the theory of the totality and reality and the consciousness, which we get in Advaita philosophy. Advaita actually means the duality, non-duality, Dvaita means duality, and Advaita is the non-duality of the reality, which has been explained in this book. And also material philosophy of Charvaka, the philosophy of evolution. Every instance this book has mentioned has both the points, the Indian philosophy as well as the Western philosophy. So I was really lucky to get this book. There are two more books that I have purchased, and the first is Dead Souls by Nikolai Gogol. If you have seen my previous video on Russian literature, I had mentioned that Gogol is a writer that I would like to discover next, because I have discovered quite a few Russian writers and I haven't read any of Nikolai Gogol as of yet. So I'm very interested on starting this, because Russian literature as a whole is the most favorite fiction genre of mine. So this is the one. The last book that I would like to talk about and I've purchased is Crafting the World, Writings from Manipur, and this book is edited by Anjulika Samom. Now this is an anthology of women writers and writing short stories and poetry. Now most of the poetry and short stories that has been a part of this book had already been previously published before ending up in this book, and there are a lot of simple innocent stories that shows that that brings out the general social life of women of Manipur. And the motive of this book had been, I feel, is that they wanted to show that in spite of the geographical difference that Northeast has, there is nothing really different. And women of, perhaps a woman from the mainland India or North India has the same lifestyle or deals with same daily mundanity as a woman of Manipur would. So that has been the motive. Also, this book, in the introduction, this book talks about Iram Sharmila, the woman who has made history by the longest peaceful protest, and that is of 16 years of hunger strike. And this book has called for readers to not exemplify the women of Manipur considering Iram Sharmila, and there are general stories of strength in daily lives that women of Manipur has, which is represented in these stories. And also the beauty, the geographical, the cultural, and the social, and everything, all kinds of beauty that Manipur has been reflected in some of the stories of this book. So that's all for today. I really hope you enjoyed this big book haul, and let me know in the comment section which book has been the most interesting and which book got you interested. And that's it for today. I hope you liked it, and if you did, please like, share and subscribe, and I hope to see you soon in the next video. Till then, bye bye.